Hey everybody, hope you're having a lovely spring break. This is your spring break video. So it's going to be a little long, it's going to be a little tough, but you have all week to master it. So here we go. So we already did parabolas in vertex form. Today we're going to do parabolas in standard form. And here is the model. Y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. Okay, so a couple things you have to know if it's in this form. Whether it opens up or down is all based on A. So if A is positive, it opens up. And if A is negative, it opens down. Okay, that's pretty easy to remember. To find the vertex, there's a formula. It's negative B over 2 times A. That's how you find the vertex. Okay, that'll give you the H value. And then you're going to have to plug it in to find the K value. So this gets you H, and then you have to plug it in to find K. And remember, the line of symmetry is always x equals the x value of the vertex. So it's still going to be x equals h, whatever we get from here. And when it's in this form, the y-intercept is always 0, c. It's what you get when you plug in 0 for x, and when it's in this form, these drop out, and you always just get c. So the y-intercept is 0, c. Now here's the hard part. The zeros, the solutions of this equation, you need to get by factoring. Remember from last chapter, factoring? Oh, it's not gone. You need to factor. All right, let's try one. So standard form. Okay, here we go. First step, does this parabola open up or down? And what you do is you look at the leading coefficient, and since it's positive, x squared, you know it's going to open up. All right, to find the vertex, we use the formula negative b over 2 times a. All right, let's maybe make a list of what a and b are. So in this equation here, a is 1, because a is the leading coefficient. B is positive 4, and there is no C, so C is 0. So let's just keep note of that. That might help if you write it out. All right, let's follow our formula to get the vertex. So negative B, so if B is 4, then negative B is negative 4. And then divided by 2 times A, and A is 1, so 2 times 1. All right, let's do that. What's negative 4 divided by 2? Negative 4 divided by 2 is negative 2. Okay, so that gives us the H value of the vertex. Now to find the K value, you got to plug this in for x. So we're going to take negative 2 and we're going to plug it in for x. So let's do that here. All right, so x squared. But when a number's negative and you're squaring it, make sure you put it in parentheses. So negative 2 squared plus 4 times negative 2. We're just plugging negative 2 in for x, and you get negative 4. Okay, so the vertex is negative 2, negative 4. The line of symmetry, remember it's a vertical line, so it's always x equals the h value of the vertex. So x equals negative 2. And now we got to find the zeros, and we find the zeros by factoring. Okay, so here's what we got to do. To find the zeros, we have to set the equation equal to 0 and factor. So what's the GCF? What can you guys divide out of both terms? See how they both have a 1x? So we're going to pull out a 1x and actually divide it out. So if you divide both terms by x, you get 1x plus 4. Okay, now here's how you solve this. What you have to do is set x equal to 0 and x plus 4 equal to 0. And those will be your two solutions. So the first one's really easy. If there's just a single x, then your first solution is just x equals 0. If there's something with a plus or a minus, it's always just the opposite. So do you guys see how this says x plus 4? That means that the solution will be negative 4. It's always the opposite of what it is. Okay, so if it's single, it's just 0. If it's plus or minus something, it's always the opposite. Because that negative 4 is what would make this 0. So it's always opposite. Okay, guys, let's put it all together. I know this is a lot, and let's sketch our parabola. Okay, so we have we can start wherever you want. Let's do the vertex. The vertex is at -2, -4. The line of symmetry will go down the vertex. That's the halfway point. And then zeros are another word for x-intercepts. These are the two x-intercepts. So we have an x-intercept at 0, and we have an x-intercept at -4. And that's all you need. Those are your 3 points. So we're going to connect the dots and make it look like a U. And that's how you find everything and graph in standard form. Don't worry, we'll do another one. Okay, so flip the page. Let's try number 2. No, number 3. Okay, so number 3. Does it open up or down? And if you look at the leading coefficient is negative, so we know that this guy's going to open down. To find the vertex, we use the formula -b over 2 times a. Should we make a list of what a, b, and c are? So in this problem, a is -1, b is 2, and c is 3. So that might help you know what to plug in. Okay, guys, so let's find vertex. -b, so -2 over 2 times a. So 2 times -1. Let's see what that is. So what's -2 divided by 2 times -1? So pretty much what's -2 divided by -2? That's 1, right? And then to find the k value, we got to plug it back in. So take 1 and you got to plug it back in for x. All right, let's do that. So get out your calculators. All right, we have a negative sign. And then we have 1 squared plus 2 times 1 plus 3. Now, some of you might be wondering why I didn't put the negative in parentheses. That's because in this problem, the negative is out front. It's not part of the x. So when that happens, you just put it out front. All right, so the vertex is 1, 4. And that means that the line of symmetry is x equals the 1, right? The h value of the vertex. And now let's find the zeros. Let's find the zeros. So to find the zeros, you take your initial function here and you set it equal to 0, and you have to factor. Oh, do you guys remember what to do when the leading coefficient's negative? You divide by -1 first. Divide by -1, and then you get positive x squared minus 2x minus 3. And now you have to factor this trinomial. So you got to remember how to factor a trinomial. So let's get our two parentheses. To get x squared, we need x and x. To get negative 3, we need 3 and 1. But one of them's got to be negative. And then remember, the inners and the outers have to add to negative 2. So I think it's got to be negative 3 and positive 1. Okay, now to find the actual zeros, remember it's always the opposite of the factors. So if this says x minus 3, then the 0 is actually positive 3. And if this says x plus 1, then the 0 is actually negative 1. Oh, and there's one thing I forgot. The y-intercept is when you plug in 0 for x. So it cancels, it ends up just being 0 comma c or 0 comma 3. All right, let's put it all together on our graph. I know this is a lot of stuff, one thing at a time. All right, so one thing at a time. Let's do the vertex first. Vertex is at 1 comma 4. And then we got the line of symmetry that goes down that point, x equals 1. We have zeros. Zeros are x-intercepts. So we have zeros at 3 and at negative 1. And then actually something that I don't think we did on the front page, the y-intercept is at 0 comma 3. And then, actually on these, we can get 5 points. Do you guys see where that extra point would be? Remember that symmetry with the y-intercept? If it's 1 away from the left, then let's go 1 away to the right. So on these graphs, we need 5 points. Let's get 5 points. And then draw your upside down U. Okay, I'm going to do one more if you guys want to keep watching, but if you would like, feel free to stop. I would definitely get this third one in though, at some point over break. Okay, let's run through it. It opens up because the leading coefficient is positive. The vertex is negative b over 2 times a. Okay, so let's make a list of A, B, and C. So in this problem, A is 2, B is negative 8, and C is 6. So there's our list for the vertex. Okay, so vertex is going to be negative b, but if b is already negative 8, what happens when you do a negative negative? Doesn't it become positive? So a negative negative 8 becomes positive 8, and then on bottom 2 times 2, because a is 2. All right, what is 8 divided by 2 times 2 is 4, right? So what's 8 divided by 4? That's 2. And then to find the y value, or the k, we got to plug 2 in for all the x's. So let's go ahead and plug in 2 wherever you see an x. All right, so it's going to be 2 times 2 squared minus 8 times 2 plus 6. And it looks like the k value is negative 2. Okay, so that's the vertex. The line of symmetry is always x equals the h value of the vertex. So x equals 2. And the y-intercept is always 0 comma c. So 0 comma 6. And to find the zeros, we need to rewrite the problem and set it equal to 0. And now you need to factor. Factor and solve. All right, so to make this problem easier, I'm going to divide out a GCF of 2 first. So then I get 1x squared minus 4x plus 3 equals 0. And now I think this one's going to be easy to factor. So to get x squared, you guys know the drill. It's x and x. We need two numbers that multiply to 3, but then add to negative 4. So it's got to be negative 3 and negative 1, right? All right, so we factored, but now let's actually find the zeros. And to find the zeros, remember, it's always the opposite. So if it's x minus 3, it's actually positive 3. And if it's x minus 1, it's actually positive 1. And that should cover everything we need to sketch our graph. All right, guys, you're doing great. We're almost done. The vertex is at 2, negative 2. And let's get our line of symmetry right down that point. That's our halfway line. The y-intercept is at 0, 6. So should we get our freebie point right away? If it's 2 away to the left, we got a freebie point 2 away to the right. And then our zeros are our x-intercepts. So we have an x-intercept at 3. So let's make a dot at 3. And we have an x-intercept at 1. So we'll make a dot at 1. See how it all falls perfect symmetry. Connect the dots. It should look like a U. And that's how you graph everything in standard form. All right, nice job, guys. Thanks for watching. Have an awesome break.